Well, hello, family. It's so good to have you back in the at-home kitchen today. And if you remember, I told you last week that this week we'll be doing part 2 of wedding cookies. And if you missed last week, you missed 4 really good cookies, but we're going to give you some more today. Now, the question always is, how many cookies do I really need at my reception? There's a couple of variables. There's a couple of things that you can judge that by. First of all, if you're going to serve the wedding cake, as opposed to putting it into a container and sending it home with the guests, then you would want more because they're always looking for a dessert. So I would suggest anywhere from 6 to 10 per person. That sounds like a lot, but remember, that's their whole dessert. If you're going to serve the wedding cake as part of the meal, and it's going to be set down before them, and they're going to eat it, then you only have to have between 4 and 6 per person. Now, you also have to remember, if you have those cookies placed out before, while you're waiting for the bride and groom to arrive, before the meal even starts, they're going to head for that table and clean those cookies out before you even get the meal started. So you might want to hold back on that and put them out just after they get their meal, start putting out the cookies or unveiling them. You can have them ready, but just have them draped with something and then let them eat them, and then of course they'll have the cake. But the thing about it is, and this is a Pittsburgh thing, we want a lot of cookies. So we're trying to give you some recipes that make a lot of cookies with a minimal amount of time. Your bar cookies do that because you put it out in a bar and then you cut them as big or as little as you want. I mean, that's the way to go. But keep in mind, you don't want people going and say, oh my goodness, they only had a few cookies there. No, no, no. You want them to walk away and say, wow, were those cookies good? And really, really mean that from their heart. So we're going to show you some more today, but first, we're going to have our at-home hint, and when we come back, we're getting started with more wedding cookies for your special event. Cut up dried fruit often sticks to the blade of your knife. To prevent this problem, coat the blade of your knife with a thin film of vegetable spray before cutting.
For updates, pictures, stories, and more, like us on Facebook. To watch hundreds of classic episodes, subscribe to us on YouTube. And to get hundreds of free recipes, visit ctvn.org/at-home.
Well, we're getting started. Tammy's helping us today, and she's going to make a cutout cookie. And I think cutouts are great for weddings because the bell is a nice symbol, the heart is a nice symbol, and show them that little white one over there that you can even do. This is like a little biscuit cutter. You could do that and just put like what their monogram would be. What the bride,
really great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea too. Okay, tell us what you're doing.
For the frosted butter cutouts, we're going to start with our butter and sugar. So I'm taking a cup of butter softened, so we've had it at room temperature. And we're adding a cup of sugar to it. And I'm going to mix it until it's nice and fluffy.
Nice and fluffy, important.
So that'll take a little bit of time. And while that's going on, then I'm going to add an egg and almond extract to it. Sorry, I was going to say vanilla because you can do vanilla too.
Right.
But we're going to do almond extract today.
But that has to get really fluffy.
So we got to get this going first. But
okay. Now while you're waiting for that to get fluffy, let me tell you, I'm making a cookie called a pecan sandy. And it's a nice, like a shortbread, but there's big chunks of pecans in it. This is very simple, very easy. And what we're going to do is just take our butter, and we have a cup of butter, room temperature, it's always important. And with the electric mixer, we're going to beat brown sugar into the butter. It's kind of basic on how they all start, you know?
Yeah.
You cream them together because...
the butters and the sugars and the...
Right. So, you want to make sure that gets creamed thoroughly. This is when we wish we had 2 KitchenAid mixers. Sometimes I bring mine, but today I didn't. I thought, oh, we'll just do it like this. It'll be fine. If you don't have one, doesn't matter. You can still make this. It's very easy. And we're just going to blend it well. Make sure it's incorporated. That brown sugar is going to give it a really rich flavor cookie too, which I like. And you want to scrape down your bowl every once in a while to make sure that you get everything incorporated, because that's important. You don't want any pieces of butter that aren't mixed with the sugar.
How's that?
That's pretty good, okay. Yeah. Now I might let that go for the time's sake. I'm going to let that go a little bit longer, but it'll be fine. That'll be fine. Okay. So we have our butter incorporated with the brown sugar on this one. And now, my recipe here, make sure I'm doing it right. We're going to add some vanilla and some salt. Okay. Tammy, maybe you could put those down in our bust pan for me. Okay. And again, beat that in. Sometimes you wear this, sometimes it stays in the bowl. Very simple recipes. You know, there's so many recipes out there. And I like, when I'm making cookies for a wedding, I like to know what the flavors are, what kind of cookies do the bride and the groom like most, because I try to pull that in so that it's a reflection on them. And now we're going to add some flour. We have our flour here, which is 2 cups. We're just going to drop that in, just like that.
And while you're doing that, I'm also adding my flour, which is 2 3/4 cup,
okay.
and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt.
Salt, okay. And let's see. I'm going to just gradually incorporate this slowly, because we really don't want to wear it. So even if you have to turn it off and on to get it incorporated, hello, you do that. It seems like it has a very high #1 speed on this mixer. Doesn't give you a slow speed, really. But we will persevere, because we need cookies for this wedding. Actually, Laurie, who works with us here, she's our associate producer, and her husband's their oldest daughter, Elizabeth, is getting married, and so that's kind of what sparked the idea. Laurie's like, what kind of cookies are we making? And the only thing Larry said was, the only thing I want in this wedding is a lot of cookies, a big cookie table. It's okay, we got to work on cookies for them. So, we now have our flour, the butter, brown sugar, our vanilla, and our salt. Everything is in there. Okay, until this gets combined. And then what we're going to do with this, we're going to stir it up here. See, that's like cutting the butter into that. That's like you're going to take it and it's going to hold together, okay? So don't worry that it's not coming together like a moist batter, because the butter in that's what's going to pull it together. But we have to add our pecans to it to really make it good. And you know, if it's a real dry day outside, there's 2 ways, if you can't get it to stick together for you, 2 things you could do. You could add some more butter, or you could add a little bit of water. But we're going to fold these in. Make sure that's 2 cups of pecans. We don't want to use the mixer at this point. Those babies would be like orbits all over this place. We don't want that happening. Okay? Just stir them around. There we go.
I'm just getting my surface ready
Yeah,
here with a little bit of flour.
Yeah, you could pop these in the dirty.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'll get this out of your way, because we won't need this.
Figure I'll give that a little bit more time to mix while I
Sure.
get this ready.
Can I ask you to drop this back on the sink?
Sure.
Okay. Now, I have my pans here, and they don't have to be greased. A lot of butter in this cookie, so you don't have to. And I'm going to take this just to make them uniform, so we get about the right size. I'm going to mix them back and forth. The moisture of your hand and the warmth of your hand will make this get very soft. You're going to roll them around just like that. Then you're going to roll them in plain old sugar. Okay?
How's my dough look here?
I think just squeeze it if it will hold together. And you're going to use some flour to roll it out. I think you're all right.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Then we're going to take a flat bottom glass, drop it in just some water, just a little bit of water, okay, just like that. And then we're going to press that on our cookie. That's going to make our pecan sandy. Cool, huh? I like it. Okay, so you're still rolling out. Now yours are going to bake, they don't bake very long at all, do they?
7 or 8 minutes.
7 or 8 minutes.
375 oven.
Right. And they'll be done real quick. Now these bake a little longer. Make sure I get this right. 10 to 17 minutes. Not that much longer, but you don't want these just to barely get golden brown, okay? But first of all, you want to make all the balls and get them on. This should make about 3 dozen. I think yours makes about 5, doesn't it? 4 or 5 dozen?
Yeah, 5 to 6 it says.
So these balls should be about 1 inch or 1.5 inches. The other thing I want you to remember, when you're making wedding cookies, you don't want a big cookie because you want them small, bite-sized, so that everybody can get a variety. If you make great big cookies, it takes a lot of dough, if you know what I mean, but you don't have to make them big. I would rather, instead of a big chocolate chip, make one about this size that everybody can get a taste. If they want more, they can go back. But it gives more variety is important than the size of a cookie. So we're going to try to keep these on the small side. And even your cookie cutters, you want to keep them on the small side, okay? She's going to continue to roll out. I'm going to keep rolling. I think I'm going to get Paul in here to start rolling some of this for me, help us out here. And we'll be back with more in just a minute. Here's a break.
If you love At Home with Arlene Williams, then subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have hundreds of episodes with all your favorite recipes, holidays, and friends.
Say hi to your fan club.
Hi, fan club.
And don't forget to click the bell so you'll never miss another episode of At Home.
Well, we're back and we've recruited Paul again. He's going to help us. You know, it's nice to get the husbands involved in making cookies, to roll them and stuff like that. And he's a big help. Keeps the dishes done. And she's going to roll some cookies and I'm going to roll. So we said, Paul, you got to come. We're recruiting you.
You're the best.
Oh, thanks, honey. Okay, go ahead. Tell us what you're making in the raisin puffs.
I am making Arlene's raisin puffs. You
These
said
are my
they're your
favorite.
favorites, right?
Mm-hmm. One of my favorites.
So what we first did, we went ahead and we took a 15-ounce box of raisins and we put them on the stovetop with 1.5 cups of water, and you wanted the water to evaporate. And then we needed to let these cool, so that's why we went ahead
completely.
Yeah, cool
Because
completely.
if you don't, you put that in there, that'll melt the butter. You'll have a mess. They'll never be right.
So we had to go ahead and do that ahead of time, so that's all done, and our oven is preheated to 350. Next, in a bowl, we are going to cream our shortening, which is 1.5 cups of shortening, and we're doing 2 1/4 cups of sugar with that.
Okay, now while she's doing that, I'm making snowballs. These are known as Mexican wedding cookies. These are known as snowballs. They're also known as crescent, what do they call them? Crescent, something, sugar crescents or something like that. All basically the same. Rich in butter, rich in really finely ground nuts, fresh, good walnuts. Now I add a little bit of vanilla to this. You melt down the butter in your microwave. Then in this one, I have a bit of sugar. We're going to add to that. Pinch of salt, just a pinch. Remember, there's salt on the walnuts, so you don't need to do that. Take those, honey. And then we're just going to mix this up. And then I'm going to add my flour. And maybe I'll take a little bit. I like to hold back just in case I don't need it. And then 2 cups of really finely ground, like you would grind if you're making nut rolls. That's how fine that needs to be. Thanks, Tammy. Okay, and then this will come together nicely because of all that wonderful butter in there. You cannot substitute. Don't even think about margarine. Listen to me. No margarine in cookies anywhere. It's one molecule away from disaster for your body. I'm telling you. So please don't do it. Okay, what are you doing, Tammy?
To my shortening sugar mixture, I'm going to add 3 eggs and a teaspoon and a half of vanilla till it's mixed well.
Okay, how's it coming along? Good?
It's mixing real good.
Good.
Yeah.
You can see how quickly this is mixing up. I could tell because it was too wet that I would need that rest of that flour, so I went ahead and added it. And just as soon as you can't see any more flour, they're ready to roll. Okay?
Okay, in another bowl here, I have 5½ cups of flour, and I'm going to add 1½ teaspoons of baking soda to it,
Okay.
and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I have a whisk out of here.
Sure. Okay, now you can see how, look, just pushing against that, look how that sticks together. That's what this is all about.
Oh,
And it's the butter that holds it together.
And I also have to add 2 cups of walnuts to this.
Okay? Okay, Paul. I'm going to give you this, please. We're using parchment paper on our, okay, that's a baker's best friend is parchment paper, because you can just pull them off and use your sheets over again. And you want these, again, I'm going to use a scoop, and I'm just going to make it like that, pass it off to Paul. He's going to roll it into a tight ball, because if you would do it like that, they're too soft. That wouldn't work. So he's going to roll it into a ball. This makes them all pretty uniform in size. If it's too big, take a piece off. This is such a wonderful, you know the thing about these cookies, the longer you keep them, Tammy, the more buttery flavor comes out in them,
Okay.
because it kind of ripens the butter. That sounds strange, but it does.
Yeah.
And that's one of those you got to have. I make these every Christmas. It's a family tradition. We just have to have them. And these are going to bake. They don't bake too long. I don't know where my recipe went to, but they don't bake too long. But the key to this is that when you bring them out of the oven while they're still hot on that page, on that paper, you're going to take your sifter. I have my powdered sugar here in the sifter. And what you want to do with that is just sift powdered sugar all over these cookies. Because remember, there's only about 6 tablespoons of sugar in this flour mixture. So you're going to want to do that. And then when they get cold, you're going to roll them again before you put them away in storage. The best part is when you bring them out to serve them, to make them look fresh, you're going to powder them one more time. And I don't mean big clumps of powdered sugar. I mean just a light dusting. I tell you what, makes all the difference in the world. You need any help over there yet?
Well, to mine, I went ahead and I added the dry mix
Okay.
to the creamy mix. And so I'm working on that right now. And then we're going to add the cool raisins to that.
You have your lock. There you go. That'll help you keep that in control a little bit. I know the one you use all the time, you don't have a lock on it, so you forget to do that. Okay, this makes about 6 dozen cookies, makes them good. And you could change out if you don't want walnuts, you could do pecans. Almond, I don't think the flavor is strong enough with almond, but maybe you don't want a strong nut flavor, and that would be fine. But this is how simple this is. If you got 2 people doing, look how quickly we're doing this within a few minutes. And she's got the.
Going ahead and add in the raisins.
Okay. Maybe you want to stop that till you get them in. Would that help you?
Yeah.
Because if you stop, there you go. Okay, we're going to keep going. We're going to bake them. When we come back, we'll be showing you every cookie that we've made, and I think you're going to like what you see. Stay with us. Here's how you get all the recipes.
To get all the recipes from today's show, plus hundreds of others, just click the link in the video description or visit our website, ctvn.org/athome.
you're going to want to be sure that you get these recipes, because if you have any event coming along that you're going to need cookies, these cookies will knock their socks off. I'm telling you. Start over here. These are the Granny snowballs. Aren't they gorgeous? Granny snowballs, and you want to, look, they're like a little powder puff. I love them. Easy to do, makes a lot. That makes about 8 or 9 dozen. Next to it, those are pecan sandies. Don't they look wonderful? See how they are? And they're crisp. Oh, with a cold glass of milk or at a wedding, they would be fine. Next to them, these are the frosted rollouts and cutouts. And you can make them, we just use silver dragées and a little cherry or red sprinkles on top of them. You want to keep that clean. You don't want to gaudy it up with a lot of different colors. Stick with one color that they're using for the wedding and silver. That's your best bet with a white icing. Next to them, this is my raisin puff. I tell you, when you bite into that, so moist, so delicious, so easy. This makes a ton of cookies also. I'm telling you, in these 3, you have hundreds of cookies. And that probably gives you the least amount, which is only 3 dozen, but the others are massive, massive, massive cookies. And then these are some that we made last week that we brought out from the freezer to show you. I hope you've enjoyed our 2-week cookie idea shows, and I hope that you're really going to try them. So be sure to join us the next time, because it wouldn't be the same without you. We'll see you then.
Food provided by Jordan Banana Company, wholesalers of fresh fruit and vegetables in Dravosburg, Pennsylvania.
Don't forget to click the subscribe button so you'll never miss another episode of At Home.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.